Big developments this morning in two different investigations into former President Trump, the election interference probe in Georgia and the Stormy Daniels hush money investigation here in New York. We are now learning there's another recording of former President Trump pressuring another Georgia official to help overturn his election loss. This time, it's a phone call with the state's Republican House Speaker. And here in New York City, Stormy Daniels met with prosecutors yesterday as they near the end of that investigation. Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, also finished testifying yesterday before the grand jury. That makes two appearances from him in a week. Cohen will join us right here on CNN This Morning in the 8 o'clock hour. Let's get caught up on all of this with our senior legal affairs correspondent, Paula Reed. Wow, so much in just a few days.
Right. Even by Donald Trump standards, yesterday was a wild day in court for him and related to court proceedings in Georgia. We had these members of the special grand jury revealing these incredible details of the investigation. And then here in New York, you had his former alleged mistress and his fixer both talking to prosecutors.
Two investigations into former President Donald Trump heating up with possible indictments coming down soon. In New York, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office speaking on Wednesday to two key witnesses as part of its investigation into hush money payments made to adult film star Stormy Daniels.
My position is that at the end of the day, Donald Trump needs to be held accountable for his dirty deeds if, in fact, that's the way that the facts play out.
Trump's former fixer and personal attorney, Michael Cohen, concluded a second day of testimony Wednesday. And Daniels' attorney tweeted that she also answered prosecutors' questions and has agreed to make herself available as a witness. The investigation is at a critical juncture after the district attorney's office invited Trump to testify last week. Trump's legal team says he will not testify, and they're proclaiming his innocence, with one of his lawyers making this striking prediction if his client is indicted.
I think it will ultimately embolden him, embolden his supporters, and give him more strength because it will be proven to be wrongly accused. But on the other hand, who in their right mind wants to be indicted and charged falsely with a crime? Nobody.
Over in Fulton County, Georgia, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution is reporting the grand jury there heard a recording of a conversation between Trump and the late former Georgia House Speaker, David Ralston. In the recording, Trump is pushing for the speaker to call a special session to overturn Joe Biden's win in the state. One of the jurors recalled Ralston basically cut the president off, telling Trump, "I will do everything in my power that I think is appropriate." The Atlanta Journal-Constitution spoke with 5 jurors who served on the grand jury investigating Trump's actions in Georgia after the 2020 election. One of those jurors says they were presented testimony about a meeting then-Senator and Trump ally David Perdue had with Republican Governor Brian Kemp in December 2020, where Kemp was also urged to convene a special session to challenge Biden's election win.
You know what I'm saying?
Really extraordinary insight into the grand jury process there. This is not the kind of information we usually get, particularly before there's been any sort of indictment.
No.
Now, we know this grand jury has recommended multiple indictments. And if you talk to the former president's legal team, they are concerned about Georgia in terms of charges being brought. They are not, however, they say, worried about a conviction.
Paula Reed, fascinating. Wild, as you said, even
I don't know how you keep
for
up
Trump
with,
standards.
with all of these.
It's a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
Brainiac over here. Thank you, Paula.
This is one. The New Yorker is one of several investigations of Donald Trump. New developments in another one, which is the Fulton County Special Grand Jury. We now know from Atlanta Journal-Constitution reporting that there was a third Trump call. We knew of 2 previous Trump calls. The most infamous one is to Brad Raffensperger, the Secretary of State. There was another one to one of the investigators. And now we know there was a phone call to the late Speaker of the Georgia House of Representatives trying to get the Speaker to bring the legislature back in to help Donald Trump. What does that mean if you're building a case? I guess if you're Trump, you could make the case if you had one phone call, he was upset he lost the election, he was venting, he didn't mean anything nefarious. If you have 3 phone calls where he's asking for help overturning the results, how powerful is that evidence?
Well, so with the prosecutors, if, again, this is in the pre-indictment stage in this investigation in Georgia as well, if they decided to bring the case, then that would be another piece of evidence that they could use to indicate that he had the intent to try to violate Georgia's election laws, which is what this Georgia case is all about.
And so, again, another near decision point, we believe. When we get to decisions, we'll have even more interesting conversations.